All right, welcome back. This is part 2 of the video of me talking about 3 people that influenced my life in a profound way and don't even realize it. I'm Mark Kelsher, and I created and I run the action team of Keller Williams Realty. Part 1 was last Friday. If you want to look that up, it'd probably be better for all of us if you just went back and watched part 1 first and then came back to this one. But some of you just aren't going to do that, so here's a little recap. Early in my Army career, I got a new boss named Sergeant First Class Ed Nelson. He was kind of tough on me. He essentially made me and convinced the rest of the office to run a 14-mile run. And then he convinced me to run a 10-mile run as a cool down, where I met the second influential guy, whose name is Afro Guy, because I don't know his name and I haven't seen him since this incident. But Afro Guy changed my life in the sense that I started doing these big event runs and dressing like an idiot to make people happy and to make people enjoy running and help them get through these long runs. So the first 2 influential guys were 1, Sergeant First Class Ed Nelson for making me do this stuff, and then 2, Afro Guy. And I mentioned in the first video that Sergeant Nelson was one of the guys, and he brought the other 2 influencers into my life. And now you're either caught up or you heard some of that twice. But this video is about the third person who profoundly influenced my life and didn't necessarily know it. And his name was Denny Langford. Denny Langford was a Special Forces guy. He was a staff sergeant, and I met him at Jumpmaster School in very early 2001. So pre-wartime, my boss, Sergeant Nelson, said, hey, 7th Special Forces Group is running this special Jumpmaster course, and I want you to go. And I wasn't even qualified. I had to go and do 2 jumps to even qualify to go to Jumpmaster School. And so I did that real quick, got 2 more jumps under my belt, and then went to the Jumpmaster course. So I was fortunate to have gotten the qualifications to go to the course, and fortunate that my boss really pushed me to go to the course for my professional development. But anyway, I got to know these guys really well because for like 2 weeks we were in a large circle, and so like 25 of us would be in a parachute and 25 of us would be inspecting the parachute. And we had to learn all these terms. We had to memorize all this nomenclature for the parachutes because to pass the course we had to inspect 3 jumpers in 5 minutes. But inspecting 3 jumpers in 5 minutes is quite difficult, and we practiced for hours and hours and hours for 2 weeks straight. And they even offered us like study hall times, which meant we could stay even longer after class and keep practicing, which most of us did. But even though this process was pretty grueling, it was pretty fun. We joked around quite a bit and had a pretty good time while we were doing this course until the first day we tested. So we had 50 guys that were going to do this test. It's called JMPI. They put us all in this big room, and then we went and tested one at a time. I don't remember how they decided the order, but I ended up being like number 48 out of 50. And so I was going to be there all morning. And I'm not great at math, but it took several hours to go through 50 students because they had to reset the jumpers every time. And it was just a slow process. One significant thing while we were waiting in this classroom is they left us a couple parachutes, and so people were putting the parachutes on, and then other people would inspect them, and frantically, everyone's frantic. There's a lot of nervous energy in the room because it's a very hard course to pass. Pass rate is about 40 to 50%. This was actually the pre-test, so it counted if we passed, but it didn't count if we failed. But there's still a ton of nervous energy in the air. I was all up in the nervous energy, and I wanted to practice like everybody else. And this guy, Sergeant Denny Langford, who I think was 49th or 50th, he was after me. He's like, hey, slow your roll. Just relax for a little while. Don't practice too much. Because we've been practicing for 2 weeks. And he said, just let everybody else practice. Just chill out. And I did put the parachute on for other people, but I did not practice for a couple hours into this waiting. But as the group dwindled down, it was down to like 4 of us. And it's gonna be my turn to go test in about 10 minutes. He's like, all right, it's time. I'm gonna put the chute on. You're gonna go through it 1 time. Just go as fast as you can. Relax. Remember, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Just let it flow. And I'll tell you what, I whipped through that inspection so fast and smooth. I felt like I did a better job than I had any other time in the previous 2 weeks. And I'm talking about hundreds of times that we practiced this inspection. This one legit felt different. And so I was feeling good. Then all of a sudden I was on deck. I was going next. And I guess even though I felt good about my practice inspection that I had just done, Denny could kind of tell that I was nervous, or maybe he couldn't tell. Maybe he was just trying to help me out. But he kind of like grabbed my shoulders and he's like, Mark, I'm kind of nervous. And I was just thinking like, what? You're nervous? You're giving me all this advice and you're just acting all cool. And then he continues. He's like, yeah, you know when you tap the canopy release assembly with your knuckles and then you visually inspect it? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm worried that I'm going to see my reflection in that metal and just become distracted. I'm so damn handsome and I'm just going to forget what I'm doing. And then what? And since he was being so serious about it, once my brain processed that he was just being stupid, my eyes rolled back in my head as far as they go, and we were both laughing. That just put me so much at ease. I just completely, all my nervousness was gone right before I went in to test. And I'll tell you what, I had my best time ever during the actual test, and I passed on the first try. I was one of 11 people that passed on the first try. And during all my practices, I had never made my time. They always called time before I was done. But that was it. I only had to do it one time ever in my entire career. I only had to make that time that one time, and I did it. And yeah, I put the work in, but I give a lot of credit to Denny Langford for just putting me in a different mind space to be able to successfully pass that test. And I went on to become a jump master, which I was for about 20 more years. That became a huge part of my whole military identity. I really thrived in that space. I really thrived at being a jump master and conducting airborne operations. That would end up being a big part of my career. If we had one of those string diagrams, which I don't, it's not in the budget, it would have one Sergeant First Class Ed Nelson in the middle, and you'd have Afro guy over here, you'd have Denny Langford over here. And so yeah, those three guys had a humongous impact on my life, and probably don't really know it. I always say Sergeant Ed Nelson did probably know he had an impact on me at the time, because he is the one that kind of made the things happen, kind of put me in these places. But I guarantee, unless he's watching this video, he has no idea of the scope of the impact that he had on me and my career. So the reason I'm bringing any of this up is twofold. One, I want to share just a little bit more about who I am and how I think and how I work. And second, I just want you to think about the fact that maybe you are having influence on people and you don't even really know it. So please live well, do the right thing, and help people whenever you can. That's how I live, that's how I built, and I'm continuing to build my team, and that's what I expect from the people that work with me and work for me. I just want to put that out in the universe. And as always, if you need any help with real estate at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to me and my team. We would be honored to help answer your questions and help you with any problems you may be running into with real estate. Thanks for watching. We'll talk soon.